Shuwen Bian is an economist from China. She's currently working on her PhD, for which she's traveling all over Germany, visiting companies that have recently been taken over by Chinese firms. She says many have reservations when they discover a Chinese buyer is behind the takeover. It's mostly state-run companies that are moving into the German market, and the fear is that the Chinese government will have influence.
It's fair to say that there is a desire in China to catch up in the area of technology. Now, it's not the case, of course, that the government in Beijing picks out individual companies in advance and puts them on a shopping list. But it does recommend that Chinese firms seek takeovers in certain sectors and industries.
Beijing is particularly focusing on suppliers for the automotive industry and mechanical engineering firms. This plant is from ThyssenKrupp steel and produces body parts for the automotive industry. 3 years ago, it was bought by Chinese steel producer WISCO. Shuwen Bian is meeting with the German CEO. He's not prepared to reveal how much the Chinese parent company paid for the plant, but he says the funds enabled him to invest in new machinery and business has improved. He says the parent company has brought in new customers and supplies cut-price steel. The CEO insists he has full control over business operations. He says only the business culture has changed.
We take our time in defining a goal, discussing and agreeing on it. But once we've defined the goal, we implement it with a lot of creativity and dedication, which I find very, very positive. You can spend forever discussing a goal and modifying it, but if you don't implement anything, you just stagnate.
Shuwen Bian is in luck. Today, a manager from China is also visiting the plant, and she's able to meet with him. He's not from the parent company WISCO, but heads up another WISCO subsidiary in China. He explains what's driving the Chinese policy.
They have a very good plant in China, equipment that they've bought in from Germany and elsewhere in Europe. But the Chinese steel company WISCO still lacks to a certain extent the know-how to run the plant in such a way that they end up with a good product. So that's what they're looking for.
Shuwen Bian has now spoken to 30 Chinese-owned firms in Germany. One trend that her data already reveals is that Chinese companies are starting to take an increased interest in environmental technology and robotics. And she's convinced that the Chinese parent companies will take greater control over business operations in the future.
This level of autonomy that the German subsidiaries have won't continue forever. As soon as the Chinese executives feel more sure of what they're doing here and get to know Germany better, then they'll start calling the shots more.
Dann würden sie schon eher wollen, tongebend zu sein.
In the summer, she's going to China to learn more about the Chinese side of the equation and the future investment plans of Chinese companies.